Hello, today is Friday, March 20th. Welcome to episode 572 of Fault Lines, the National Security Institute's podcast that gets you quickly up to speed 3 times a week on the national security and foreign policy debates shaking up America. I'm NSI Advisory Board member Lester Munson. I'm joined today by senior fellows Jessica Jones and Amy Mitchell. Today, we are going to talk about legislative activity related to the war against Iran. There are rumors, and maybe more than rumors out there floating around, that the administration is going to ask Congress for more money for the war. This is called a supplemental appropriations request. The initial figures for this additional funding started at around $40 billion, which is a lot of money. The rumors then escalated to 50, 75, 90, now 200. I've seen numbers as high as $280 billion for the war. Most of the guesses are at around $200 billion. Let us note that as of Friday morning at about 9:45, we have not seen the official request yet. It could be coming today. It could be coming next week. But there's clearly a need for some funds to replenish weapon stocks that have been used in the war, missiles, drones, that kind of thing. But folks, $200 billion is a lot of money. Back when we were at war in Iraq and Afghanistan, there was a thing called OCO, the Overseas Contingency Operations Fund, which was non-budgetary numbers that helped fund the war. They were never as high as $200 billion. And we had boots on the ground in both of those places. It is way more than we spent on Ukraine back during the Biden administration. Amy, I kind of want to go to you first here. Is this all very symmetrical with the things the administration has been saying about the war in Iran?
The answer to that, Les, is no, it is not. Like everything else in this war, conflict, excursion, whatever we're calling it today, it is contradictory to everything that the administration has put out about the war, that we are not depleting our stockpile, that, the military is in great shape. We can handle this. This request obviously undermines those statements. That said, at this point in time, we are facing conflicts across the world. We're, still torpedoing and targeting cartel members throughout the Caribbean and South America, where we're using other types of missiles. So we do need to have our stockpiles replenished, and quickly. And the only way that the defense industry will do that is if there is money flowing. So unfortunately for Congress in this situation, I expect them to push back, but I do expect the department to get something to get the money flowing. And like I said, we're in this, so we got to be in it to win it.
Jones, there's this kind of backdrop of the overall defense budget, which in fiscal 26, which is the year we're in now, is $1 trillion. There's talk that when the administration's official budget request for FY27 comes up, and boy, are we getting nerdy now, folks.
It's Fun Friday, Les. Why are you doing that? Nerdy and Fun Friday don't go together.
We can do both. That's what we do here on the podcast. We're both nerdy and fun. So when that budget request comes up probably in a couple of weeks, it's another rumor is that there'll be a defense request of $1.5 trillion, which is a 50% increase over last year's number. Now, I'm totally in favor of a much higher defense budget. I think we need to be ready for all of these things that are going on in the world, including the stuff that's happening right now. And we need to ratchet up our defense spending. It is at a historical low when you look at the percentage of GDP devoted to defense. So this is overall a good thing, but a 50% increase in 1 year is a little nuts. So could this supplemental request be kind of a bridge to a slightly more modest but still robust defense budget request in a couple of weeks?
I doubt that. I doubt that they go hand in hand. I mean, if you can get $200 billion plus $1.5 trillion, why would you not go for that? Why would you limit yourself less? This is the administration of maximalism. That seems too low bar. I mean, I think to Amy's point, she brought up $200 billion seems to indicate that the operations in Iran look like they're going to be much more prolonged. They're going to be more escalatory. And that's a signal not only, I think, for Americans here, but also for our allies, our partners, the region, right? Like, I think everyone should take note. But I believe, I can't remember exact words, but President Trump also said it's for Iran and like other matters. So this 200 billion also might be going towards other endeavors that we're not sure about yet.
Cuba.
Cuba. And as you point out, Les, we haven't seen the details. It hasn't been announced yet. And so what is interesting to me is the rhetoric around the 200 billion. The Secretary Hegseth, had a briefing on it, and he said that we'll know what we're successful in Iran when President Trump has told us we're successful. And so as voters and as taxpayers, I want to know what the 200 billion is actually trying to go towards. Like, when will this conflict be over? What are we trying to achieve? I think members of Congress obviously need to vote according to those milestones instead of just this amount. You had Speaker Johnson yesterday saying, I'm sure this is not a random number. And yet, Les, went everywhere from 40 billion to maybe 280. So I think actually seeing the substance behind the ask is important. But I think it's, we talk a lot about election year. We have a $39 trillion deficit that President Trump is supposed to be cutting, right? We're supposed to be cutting that down.
Sorry, it's a $39 trillion
debt, not deficit.
The deficit is like less than $2 trillion. So
sorry, okay.
I'm not
the
sure
trade deficit is dropping while our national debt is increasing to 39 trillion. And so you have a lot of members of Congress who are going to make cuts to be able to support 200 billion. And so you obviously look at domestic programs, which is what voters may care about when we come to the polls in November. So it might be a tricky spot for some members of Congress to pass, even though, as Amy said, we're in the middle of it. So
Amy, a couple weeks ago, Congress, through the War Powers Resolution process, which is a terrible idea, by the way, but through that process, both the House and the Senate refused to disapprove the war. They both voted down resolutions disapproving the war, which in the rule of a double negative equals a positive, at least in my mind, is effectively Congress endorsing the war. Now, everyone is upset that that the president hasn't requested an AUMF or declaration of war from Congress. There's some legitimacy to this argument, and perhaps it's better if Congress does do an AUMF for Iran to give the president some support and show the American people that the government is committed to this and we want to win, et cetera. It could lead to a better outcome. Meanwhile, we do have some evidence that Congress effectively supports what the president is doing. So how do you think this budget request, which will be yet another vote on the Hill, and by the way, the Senate, for some reason, voted again this week on disapproving the war, and the disapproval failed again by the exact same number, 47 to 53. John Fetterman came over and voted with 52 Republicans to effectively approve the war. So what's your assessment of when and if this supplemental request, let's assume it's around $200 billion, goes to Congress? What's going to happen?
Oh, it's going to pass. I mean, there is no difference right now between the executive branch and the legislative branch. Whatever the president wants, Congress has shown that it will do. You have a few kind of squeaky wheels throughout the Republican caucus, but for the most part, it is fall in line. And I have no doubt that they will, quote unquote, find this money and spend it. To Jess's point, I think putting these objectives on the table, I think that has been the concern since day one. What are we doing? When will this end, right? And those are not unreasonable questions, but Congress is not in a place right now where they are actually exerting their authority to get the answers to any of these questions. So I think it could be 40 billion. I think it could be 280. I think it could be 500. And they're going to pass it. There is zero doubt in my mind. And in the meantime, on the home front, right, DHS is still shut down. TSA is getting longer. We might have airports shutting down. And then globally, we have other countries that are, having to deal with the fallout from the war on the economic and energy front. So, what's another 200, 300 billion here or there?
Jones, what say you on this question?
It passes, whatever the number.
Okay. So
and this is better than the brackets last night, Les. I think that we
my gosh, mine's done. I mean, did I only fill it out an hour in advance? Yes. But is it gone?
Focus. Folks, if you want to say Congress is going to pass it, then the question becomes how? Because if it's a normal appropriations process, you need 60 votes in the Senate. You need 7 Democrats to come over and vote for it. The only way to do it in a straight majority vote in the Senate with 51 votes, or a tie at 50-50 and Vance votes to approve. Boy, that'd be interesting.
It's on his record.
Is through the budget reconciliation.
I was going to ask you, a congressional nerd, about that this morning. Actually, if you could give us these details.
So what in the budget reconciliation process, which you have a limited number of opportunities to do that. There's been talk of doing one this year for a while. There hasn't been a lot of momentum, but now with this big defense sup request coming down the pike, probably a kind of renewed interest in a budget reconciliation process. You could put the DHS funding perhaps in there.
That's exactly
and solve some other problems. It's going to take a little bit longer than the normal legislative process potentially does, but it could kind of unlock some other solutions here. So,
do you think that's the path? Do you think that's the path they're going down, Les, because they're not going to get 60?
I think the only way to pass it is probably to do it through budget reconciliation. Unless you did some sort of compromise with Democrats on another issue, which no one has floated that balloon yet that I've seen.
Okay. And too bad we can't get that $200 million back on Kristi Noem's ads.
That might scare some change, though.
Folks, she wasn't fired because of that. Just to be clear, it was Minnesota.
Oh, it was Minnesota?
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
But she's actually not fired. She's just been transferred to another office.
Right. Okay, that's a wrap. Thanks always to Kelly Crowley, Grace Trice, Claude Jennings, and the NSI staff for their help in producing today's episode. Join us on Monday, March 23rd for another episode of Fault Lines, the National Security Institute's podcast that gets you smart fast on the national security and foreign policy debate shaking up America. We're on YouTube. Check out our channel for a video of today's Fun Friday episode. If you like what you heard or saw, be sure to rate, review, and subscribe.